test this out. I'm not sure how good this is going to be, but I figured, finally got my old desktop up and running. Let's see how well OBS works in this really, really, really cheap ass microphone. All right. So, good afternoon. I figured have a little bit of time to kill. Not much, but some. No one's going to be here, and that's alright by me. But I figured I would take this time to test and see how things sound and all that. Um, and just test and see how all the scenes work and look and all that. So, I don't have anyone to interview right now or chat with, and next time I do, I am definitely going to be using Skype, because the last few times I've tried to use Google Hangouts, it just did not want to work very well. So, with that said, let us mosey on over to the tubes of you, and we are going to test with a video that I have always thought to be extremely important. One of the many instances where our good buddy Jim makes perfect sense. I go back to this video often because it's just such an important video involving where things are headed. And keep in mind, this was done probably going on 4 years ago. So a lot has changed since then, and a lot of this is not looking very good for those of you who actually enjoy the internet. So, with that said, I would like you all to enjoy Mr. Metokur's classic video, simply titled Wake Up.
I've always likened the internet to a Wild West of sorts. There's a chaotic element to it that makes it so incredibly engaging and entertaining. It's the unknown of human interaction that draws you back in again and again and again. And it doesn't matter what kind of a site you're on, whether it's a social media platform or a content site, an image board, or a forum. It's that unknown element of interacting with another person from a different walk of life that is a major part of the appeal. You don't know what they're going to do, what they're going to say, what they're going to link to. It's completely and utterly random from your perspective. And there's an excitement about that that's integral to what the internet is. It's integral to human interaction at its core. And for a long time, the internet's been like that. But we've seen a shift take place over the last 5 or so years from what the internet was into what it's going to be, into this Frankenstein Orwellian nightmare that's awaiting us just around the bend. You've already seen small glimpses of where it's going, but I think it's important to talk about what the hell really is happening right now and what it means for the next decade. Because if you really don't start to pay attention at this point, you're never going to get it back. The situation most of us find ourselves in at the moment is what I like to call the result of a serendipitous conspiracy. It's not that a group of people got together and decided this is the end goal, this is what we're going to do, but rather that groups of people with similar interests in mind saw one another working towards that goal and threw their weight behind one another. And among these are three primary groups: the government, corporations, and social justice warriors. And while each of them have different reasons for why they are doing this, the end result will be the same: censorship. You being silenced, not being able to speak your mind or say the things that you want to say. Now, we've already seen a major portion of the government's hand in this played out publicly. You had the Snowden leaks, you had the Der Spiegel articles, you had people like Applebaum and others speaking publicly about what's going on, about programs like PRISM, where the NSA wants to have different corporations work with them to monitor you in every single aspect of your daily life. If you're using a piece of hardware or software, they're going to find some backdoor or some means to surveilling you and even curtailing what you say. This has been talked about now for years. This is probably the most openly known component of what's happening right now. When you look at those leaks, when you look at the information that's come through, all these different companies decided to jump on board with it. They didn't care about your rights. They didn't care about free speech. They just did what Big Brother told them to do. Apple, Google, Microsoft, every single one of them decided to fuck you as hard as they could without really giving any consideration on whether you'd like a little lubrication before the anal. They just don't care. A lot of people seem to think it's just software related or it's just an internet service that's being compromised somehow. No, it's your hardware too. Listen to this excerpt that Applebaum talks about. I want you to really listen to this to get an idea of just how utterly fucked you are in regards to what the government is doing right now.
This is an implant called RageMaster. It's part of the Angry Neighbor family of tools, where they have a small device that they put in line with a cable in your monitor, and then they use this radar system to bounce a signal. This is not unlike the Great Seal Bug that Louis Theremin designed for the KGB. So it's good to know we finally caught up with the KGB, but now with computers. They send the microwave transmission, the continuous wave, it reflects off of this chip, and then they use this device to see your monitor. Yep, so there's the full life cycle. Here's the same thing, but this time for keyboards, USB and PS2 keyboards. So the idea is that it's a data retroreflector. Here's another thing, but this one, the Tawdry Yard program is a little bit different. It's a beacon. So this is where probably then they kill you with a drone. That's pretty scary stuff. They also have this for microphones to gather room bugs. For room audio, notice the bottom. It says, all components are common off the shelf and are so non-attributable to the NSA, unless you have this photograph in the product sheet.
Now that's the government. That's just one of the three groups, and their rationale for this is security. We've all heard it before. That's why they need to know what kind of cornflakes you ate this morning and what you said to your friend on Instagram last night because of security, to stop terrorism. We all know it's a bullshit rationale. We all know there's a lot more going on to this than what they're saying up front. But that is the line they're sticking to. Now, another one of these primary groups, the second one, is corporation. Corporations are fairly straightforward. Their reasoning behind wanting censorship is money. Good old-fashioned greed. You see, the internet is a massive marketplace. Many, many pairs of eyes to put advertisements in front of. Sure, when it first started out, it was a relatively small thing, and who populated the internet? Geeks, nerds, outcasts. It was their gathering place. There was a technological barrier in place, a tech savviness that you needed to be able to use it. But as time went on and technology evolved and hardware and software got better, it opened the doors, it opened the floodgates to more and more people. So you see this brand new marketplace open up, and my God, it is just ripe for the picking. But do you know what makes it difficult to sell somebody a new car online? When they have to look at the comments that say nigger right below the advert. Makes them a little gun shy to advertise on certain sites, on certain platforms. And so corporations have an interest in limiting what is said. They need to sanitize the internet. They need to silence you and what you might potentially say to ensure their sales. It really is that simple. They make more money the more mainstreamed and sanitized the internet is. The more control they have over it, the greater their profits. That's part of why you see things like the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP agreement. Look at what was in that regarding copyright and trademark law, what it allowed corporations to do in regards to governments and individuals. It is a way for them to control and to sanitize the internet to ensure that they make even more money. So you've got the first group that's doing it for security, and the second group that's doing it for greed. What about the third group? Well, social justice warriors in this context, between these groups all working towards this end goal of censorship, are what I like to call the useful idiots. See, the government wants control. They may call it security, but they want control. And corporations, again, very straightforward. They just want to make money. They have two very defined purposes, and they are beneficial to themselves. The third group, the useful idiots, want to sanitize the internet. They want to censor it to create a safe space to protect their feelings, because hearing what other people think offends them. And so what better way to stop being offended than to silence everybody else? So this plays into the goals of the first two groups. So while the social justice warrior thinks, oh, isn't it great that the government's getting involved? Isn't it great that these corporations and websites are getting involved? They're mistaking this as altruistic when it's really self-serving. Those two first groups are doing it because it serves them, not because it serves the greater good. But to a social justice warrior, they are too blind to see this. We have seen over the last 5 years specifically from this one group, these SJWs, a push to censor everything. Can you name one website that does not now have an amended terms of service agreement about what you can say, what kind of avatar you can use, what kind of name you can use? Facebook has proper pronouns. Twitter now shadow bans you. YouTube now restricts the content you can upload. League of Legends is getting rid of people they deem toxic. It doesn't matter what platform it is. They have influenced all of them, and it is always the same people. Notice who went before the UN, who was at the Google Talks, who is friends with people that work at Twitter. It's the same names that pop up again and again and again. People like Anita Sarkeesian, Zoe Quinn, Randy Harper. These are names that are attached to this movement, and it's sold to you as being for your benefit. They're going to make the mean, evil, icky people go away. Somebody said nigger, get rid of them. Somebody said kike, get rid of them. And to you, that may sound great, but their offense doesn't end there. It's not just people that say outrageous speech that offends them. It's people that hold positions that disagree with their positions or who don't uphold their own viewpoints that need to be censored and silenced. You don't call yourself a feminist? We need to get rid of you. You disagree with my viewpoint on white privilege, on systemic racism? You disagree with my ideology? You need to be silenced. Because clearly, you're a misogynist, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're transphobic, you're a cis pig. And yet these are the people that are in positions of power to sway those that have massive platforms and decide policies going forward. To them, this is great. Censorship is the ultimate hug box. When everybody's silent, nothing bad ever gets said. They are useful idiots. Look at the interplay that takes place between these different distinct groups and how their actions benefit each other. Take Twitter, for instance. Right now, there's discussion going on that Twitter is shadow banning people, that they're essentially limiting your ability to speak out and be heard. And it's really an insidious approach. Rather than outright ban you or get rid of you and risk you creating another account, they limit the ability of your tweets to be read by anybody else. They black hole it for 24 hours. So if you say something that's important, it's topical, it's on point, and it's in the moment, nobody's going to hear about it for a day. What's the effect of that? Well, one, it makes you think nobody cares. Two, it dissuades you from even talking about it again. And three, it limits the impact of the information. Now, who does this benefit? Well, it benefits all three. Firstly, it benefits the government. Why would this work for the government? Look at groups like Occupy Wall Street. Their ability to have an impact is their ability to get information out quickly, is their ability to swarm that information to many, many people. If you can make it so they can't do that, you've cut the legs out from under them. For corporations, this is great too. They make a screw up, they do something stupid, nobody's going to be hearing about it for a day. The longer they can delay that backlash, the less of a backlash there's going to be. For social justice warriors, it's even better. It makes their critics think that nobody cares what they have to say. It limits their ability to respond. And by creating a wall of silence, a veil of silence, it makes it look like the social justice warrior's voice is the loudest because it's the only one being heard. And all three of these groups are selling this to you like it's for your benefit. And maybe you're on board. Maybe you think this is the right approach. Maybe you want all the bad, icky people to go away, all the hate speech to disappear. Maybe you don't want free speech, you want safe speech. Now you might say, Jim, you're an asshole. I've looked at your videos. You say horrible things. I've heard you make racist and sexist comments. You've made fun of people. You've trolled people. Why should anybody care what you have to say? Well, you should care because when my form of extreme speech is gone, yours becomes the extreme speech. It is on a downward spiral towards the lowest common denominator. They will find more and more things to be offended by, and they love to be offended. And these perpetually offended people are the ones that want to dictate to you what you can or can't interact with, what is acceptable or unacceptable. They're not asking for your input on it. They're making that decision for you. And that's probably the most offensive part of it all. They think you're too incapable of dealing with that on your own because that's how they've been raised. They think others aren't capable of making these decisions on their own. They don't think you're adult enough to decide what a good or bad interaction is and how to deal with it. So they make that choice for you. And then they claim it's for your benefit. But at their core, they are useful idiots. And I think the saddest thing about all of this is that if the internet is like the Wild West, we're never going to get our moment at the Alamo. We're never going to have that last stand because it's going to be hard to rally together if you can't even hear the gunshots being fired in the distance.
And that is a video, as I said, that he posted 3 to 4 years look at what has happened since. You can't really do much of anything on Twitter. There's not much you can do on Facebook. Lots of people are getting deplatformed and suspended off of YouTube left and right. And it's all about, at least in my opinion, I think in the opinions of others too, the old guard, the elite, that are trying to regain and keep what power that they have and had. I mean, look what they did to PewDiePie. All the news outlets, all the online publications smearing the man over stupid shit. And now the #1 channel on YouTube is a corporate entity from India. You know, it's not about the single guy anymore. It's not about the little person just making it, you know, one video at a time, expressing themselves. Remember that used to be the slogan for YouTube? It was just YouTube, express yourself. And that's long gone now. You know? And the scariest part is, you know, they're trying to silence you. And now they're trying to make it so you can't make any money. And that is unbelievably terrifying. Case in point, look at MasterCard. MasterCard has been, you know, butting in and causing people to lose their Patreon account. They have been stepping in and making various entities not be able to pay out the users. And they don't have, there's not much we can do because, you know, they're the biggest entity when it comes to credit cards and payments. You know, if you look at your debit card or your credit card, most likely there's a good chance it's either MasterCard or Visa. I mean, yeah, you might be one of the few that have an American Express or a Discover, but the two big ones are Visa and MasterCard. MasterCard, most likely, to my knowledge, being the bigger of the two. And if they're telling people, hey, we don't want your money, or we're not going to let you have an account with us, what does that mean? That's essentially a bank in that instance saying, no, we don't want your business. We don't want your money. So that brings me to the next video that Jim has posted. This one is about 2 to 3 years ago. Very similar, but it actually has to do with money specifically. It is called A Bigot's Dollar. Now, a bigot's dollar, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Would you take money from someone who you don't agree with? Say they have very racist, sexist, homophobic views, but they want your business anyway. Possibly you don't even know that's going on. You know, maybe someone tells you later, hey, this person's a white supremacist, even if it's true or not. Could be false. You know? And so is it worth anything? That's the question being asked in this video. And I implore you to stick around a little bit longer, whoever is still watching. If anyone's watching, I don't think anyone is. It is a very well-made argument. And again, years before this stuff is going now. And this, honestly, in my opinion, was more telling than the wake-up video because now, like I said, people are getting affected money-wise. So, with that said, enjoy.
I'd buy that for $1.
It's not hard to imagine where things are headed. We've seen a growing shift on existing social media websites, be they Twitter or Facebook, YouTube or others, in regards to what content will be allowed or disallowed going forward. This situation becomes even more apparent, with newly developed platforms not only adopting these same policies, but openly advertising them as a feature to potential new users. Hate speech has become the bullet point on a long list of wrongthink crimes fired point blank at the heads of content creators in an effort to purge sites of activities or opinions deemed unacceptable by those that run them. However, we are now seeing a transition from a once reactive approach to a proactive one instead. Rather than simply stemming the tide, they are seeking to dam the river. Why ban when you can deny access? Why pull down when you can refuse to put it up in the first place? And this new approach is now shifting its focus into finance rather than simply speech, though I'd argue both are interconnected for better or worse. Google to overhaul advertising policies after growing boycott. We deeply apologize, says company's CBO Philip Schindler, as he announces tougher stance on hateful, offensive, and derogatory content. Now, this particular article is dealing with advertisers and a boycott that happened, and how Google is going to give them more power over where their ads appear and how it's going to run its platform going forward. First, Google itself is going to tighten its policies around what can live on its platforms and what subset of that content can support advertising on it. Starting today, we're taking a tougher stance on hateful, offensive, and derogatory content, Schindler says. The company is also ensuring that fake creators, those who impersonate other channels, can't host advertising. Schindler also says YouTube is taking a hard look at existing community guidelines to see if any content is allowed on the platform that shouldn't be, though no action is promised. Second, the company is promising better controls for advertisers to choose where their money goes and to prevent accidentally spending it on hateful content. The default options for advertisers will be tightened to exclude potentially objectionable content from the off. Advertisers themselves will be given account level tools to exclude specific sites and channels from all of their campaigns at once, as well as more fine-tuned controls for when advertisers need specific say over where their ads appear. Third, Schindler writes that advertisers and agencies will be offered more transparency and visibility on where their ads are running. That should help advertisers avoid awkward situations like those that prompted the boycott in the first place, where advertisers only discovered their ads were showing up on extremist content after a Times report. The Google executives also promised to hire significant numbers of people, as well as bring in new AI-powered tools.
Harmful opinions is God. Harmful opinions is God. Harmful opinions is God. Harmful opinions is God.
To increase their company's capacity to review questionable content for advertising. Now, all of this should sound somewhat familiar. We've seen this play out with YouTubers such as PewDiePie, who, after having been the subject of a media blitz, saw his partnership with Disney's Maker Studios pulled. While this on its own isn't a death knell to his viability on the platform, it does have an effect. It sends a clear and concise message. Step out of line and you will suffer financially. These MCNs, multi-channel networks, help to manage YouTube accounts and perform a host of services. They mitigate issues common users face, such as content strikes, copyright claims, as well as manage adverts and negotiate pay rates for those ads. The bigger the network, the safer the user. This has a direct relation to revenue generation as well. Issues with MCNs have been long-standing, but it now seems as if Google itself is going to play a more direct role by instituting a yay or nay policy when it comes to if you can make money going forward. It starts with the promise of allowing advertisers more control, but ultimately it will end with users losing complete autonomy. And it isn't too hard to imagine a scenario where in a few years, blacklists exist of users who can't make money off ads on any website through which Google hosts advertising. If you can't outright ban them, bleed them to death will be the new mantra. But all this does raise a rather interesting issue. Is a bigot's dollar worth less? The crux of the argument coming from companies like Google and others is that they view certain content as hate speech and thus believe it should be disallowed on their platform. It would then follow suit that those consuming that content must be advocates for such hate speech and a bigot in and of themselves for having agreed to view it in the first place. If that's the case, then what value is their view when it comes to advertisers? Is there some magic metric used in economics which weighs the value of the pure against the tainted when it comes to disposable income? If you had a modest channel that generated 2 million views per month on the content you produced, is that of less value to an advertiser than a smaller channel which only generates 200,000 views per month simply based on your political or social viewpoints? Does that not seem counterintuitive? As an advertiser, would you not want the most eyes on your product or service as possible? I have yet to encounter a television ad that asked me who I voted for, or a magazine ad that asked me my opinion on abortion before having been allowed to view it. So why then is the internet taking such a radically different approach? You could argue that this is a vocal minority forcing policy changes, or that the centralization of so many tech companies in such a specific geographic region plays some kind of role in their shared group vision. But regardless of what is causing it, I have no doubt it's going to become a larger issue going forward. I would argue that this is actually hurtful towards advertisers, that the more control they have, the more responsibility that comes with it. Now, that might not sound like a bad thing, but let me give you an example. Let's say I run Jimco. We're the best goddamn widget company which exists. Now, I put in a order with Google. I want to put my advertisements up on certain types of videos, widget related videos. Now, let's say there are 100 different videos, and my ads get put on all of those. And the combined total for all those videos is 5 million views. Now, I don't have much say on which of those videos my advertisements go up on, just a basic notion of I want it to be widget related. I don't know about the politics of the creator. I don't know about their social viewpoints. It doesn't matter to me. I'm in the business of selling widgets. That's all I care about. But now here comes a complaint. Somebody says, hey, wait a minute. Account number 98 said something I don't like. How dare you advertise on account number 98? Not my problem. I don't really have control over it going up on account 98. I'm sorry you're offended, but there's not a lot I can do about it. That would be the old system. Under the new system, however, when they come in and they say account number 98 is a problem, well, they know I have more control now. Okay, I'll pull that advertisement off that video. Well, that just cost me 100,000 views for that one complaint. Now, maybe that particular video had extremist views. Maybe that was a widget related video about forcing eugenics on people. I don't know. Maybe it was some crazy extremist thing. And so you can hand wave it away and you can say, okay, I'm at least justified in doing that. But as we've seen, offense is a perpetual thing. It just keeps growing and growing and growing. Sure, they label the most outrageous and outlandish things as hate speech right now, but as time goes on, that definition is going to get more wishy-washy. Soon it's not going to just be video number 98. It's going to be 14 and 11 and 22 and 34. And as I'm pulling all of these down, I'm losing views. My ability to advertise my product or service is diminishing, and the responsibility I have to take in addressing every single complaint that somebody has over what they find offensive becomes a detriment to my ability to make money and generate revenue. So what's the solution then? A blind pool approach? Do we create a secondary system that has ads assigned based on tiers of popularity in a random manner to mitigate the claim that so-and-so company supported such and such speech? Would that even be a feasible approach? Is the future peer sponsorship rather than standard advertisers, where content creators are more closely connected to the people that are putting up ads with them? I honestly can't say, but it is clear that this will need to be addressed. These changes are coming whether we like them or not, and they'll be all-encompassing. Your blog, your videos, your website will be strangled via the justification that your viewpoints are toxic and thus can't be supported. We've seen a lot of talk over the last few years about alternatives for where you can go to be able to speak your mind, but it might be time to start talking about where the hell you can go to get paid. As we've seen with a majority of tech companies, there is a hive mind groupthink mentality. When one does something, others follow suit. As Google shifts in this policy change, you can expect others to follow along with them. And so while you might have alternatives you can go to right now for your advertising needs for whatever your website or your business may be assured that that alternative may well change their mind and may well follow down the exact same path that Google is right now.
Well, that, again, as said before, took place a couple years ago. And, for instance, not the most likable guy right now, especially what's going on with him trying to run for office in Europe, which sounds ridiculous. But Sargon of Akkad got his Patreon taken out. There are certain groups that are labeled as extremists that immediately aren't able to get any kind of crowdfunding. People like, I believe, the Proud Boys. To my knowledge, Murdoch. As soon as he tried to put a Patreon, it got immediately taken down. He has to survive off of T-shirts. Other other groups. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else specifically. I know there's a couple of them that I've heard of. And the thing is that as controversial of a figure that Sargon is, his absence, his immediate removal, really rubbed a lot of users the wrong way, to the point where Patreon itself has greatly suffered from it. A lot of users that actually have a Patreon account have lost a lot of money, significant. So you can only imagine how much Patreon themselves have lost with that 5% or how much it is, whatever. But needless to say, putting in your political beliefs and agenda above just a simple service isn't necessarily always going to be a good thing. You also have to consider next year we have another election, and the mainstream media still hates the Donald. And one of the biggest reasons he got elected in the first place was the use of the internet, Twitter instance, Reddit, 4chan, even entities like WikiLeaks that I believe was part of that huge email compromise that happened with Hillary Clinton and her campaign. A lot of that favored him. So, since then they've been doing more and more to try to censor everybody. And it's getting worse. I hope that people have been paying attention how worse it's gotten. If you look at, say, even 5 years ago, you can't get away with that stuff now. 10 years ago especially, anonymity is dead. It was fun while it lasted, but unfortunately, they have to make sure that everyone is held accountable, even if you did nothing. And now, the internet just isn't that fun anymore. And it's a damn shame, because I remember looking fondly about how much fun it was to just shit post, and just be a complete edgelord, a complete shithead on the internet, on forums, on stuff like Facebook, MySpace, YouTube back in the day, and now you can't do anything on fear of hurting people's feelings. I guess luckily for me, I'm a nobody, so it's not like I'm gonna really lose my spot. But and on top of that, I'm not monetized, which is good, because I don't have to worry about, oh my God, did I say the wrong thing? I'm not gonna lose my money now, am I? Luckily I have a full-time job. It pays me decent. And I don't have to worry about, saying something that offends someone, causing me to lose my income. But that's a fear that has happened for a lot of people. To the point where if you misgender someone, you could run risk of being deplatformed or losing your revenue. Do I think that's right? No. It's not right at all. But this is what has been happening over the past few years. I'm trying to think, what else did I want to talk about? This is just a bullshit stream. I figured, it would be a good chance to show off those gym videos. I'm sure anyone who watches this has probably already watched them. They're very popular. But I wanted to talk about the last video I made about showing the differences between Vic Mignogna and the Vic Mignogna situation and Gamergate. And I had a lot of interesting comments on it, and I wanted to look over them because one of them is a complete, utter moron, or he's just a troll. Regardless, it doesn't matter to me. But I wanted to show how stupid this guy was because I feel like it deserves to be looked at. Now, let's see if I can
bringing it to everyone's attention that allegedly.
Nope. Pause. Okay. Alrighty. I can get to the stupid comments. Where the fuck are the comments, bro? See, I haven't used YouTube on the computer in a while. It's mostly been there we go. Here are the comments. Okay. Now, let's see how well you can actually see these. Unfortunately, it looks like I'm going to have to back it out a little bit. I want to actually get it so it's a little bit more visible. I normally don't do this, but I wanted to make sure this was actually visible. It's still not showing really well. Okay, fine. Whatever. I will move it, I guess. If it'll let me. Come on. Get in there. Oh, God. Makes it so difficult getting through this. I just want to be able to, you know what? Fuck it. I will reveal more on this just so people can actually see it. No need to look at Andy Worski's mug. I don't hate the guy, but it's not about him right now. Okay. There we go. I got it. I got it visible enough. I might actually. There we go. Okay. Now we have this. So yeah, from the get-go, I had a missing comment, which was kind of odd. I don't know why it disappeared, and but it really stems from right here initially, and it's got a shit ton of replies. C Belmont 73. I know him personally. He's all fine. But the thing that, like, literally, a nobody channel like me got attention from this individual right here. Just a bunch of gibberish, right? And he responds with "dur dur." It all starts with "yowie." I know "yowie" was misspelled. But whatever. And then he further responds, "You retarded bitch. He's been a slimy predator for years. Rolf Mlau, rolling over, what was it, floor, laughing my ass off, right?" Okay. For starters, I don't know why he even bothered responding to me. This literally at that time had like 20 views, right? So I responded because I do that. It's what I do. I'm not afraid of any of trolls or anybody. They can say whatever the fuck they want, and I will respond in kind. That's just how I am. I kind of like to engage in it because I find it entertaining. So, anyway, I respond with, "I'm sure we will find evidence of that if it's true." When he said, when no, I mean, if it's true, he said, she said, doesn't stand in the court of law, and Kick Vic will get what's coming when Vic gets his day in court. But it's no surprise that people like you don't get that. And oh, I think he deleted one of them. Let me look at the videos that or that I actually archived snapshots of this I just want to double check because I feel like some of these might be missing. He did delete a comment. Nice. Okay, so you won't see this. But initially he responded with "Dur, I think I know the law," spelled N-O. In reality, 36 states testimony does not require corroborating evidence to put someone in jail. Read it and weep, you retarded shitbag. Interesting. I wonder why he deleted it. Maybe he realized he was a fucking moron. Oh, by the way, if you doubt that I am saying this truthfully, I will show you right here. I don't know how well you can see this, but I ended up saving it on my phone because it just was easier to do it this way. Because this is how I mainly... There we go. See if you can see it. See if you can see that. Dur, I think I know the law. In reality, 36 states testimony does not require corroborating evidence to put someone in jail. Read it and weep, you retarded shitbag. Now, technically, in a sense, yes, he is kind of right. Testimony can be used to convict someone if the jury believes it. However, if it is found that the testimony is false, the person that gave said testimony is possibly facing a penalty of perjury, which could be a jail sentence. Something to keep in mind. So, let's continue. After he said that, I responded, "Oh, you poor little dummy. You didn't get the memo. Vic isn't on trial. The police are not after him. He is not at this time at risk to go to jail. Monica, Ron, Jamie, and Funimation are being sued by him for defamation and tortious interference. Get the real facts straight before spouting off nonsense." Thus he responds, "It's you assholes who go..." Wait a minute. I feel like I'm missing something. I think he's been editing his shit. Thank God I archived this first. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention the other post he put down today. 36 states and the federal government. Yeah, he copied and pasted something. But yeah, let's see if I can find. Okay, yep. Hey, it's you assholes who go on about where evidence. Where evidence. When in a criminal trial in 36 states, you do not need corroborating evidence, so you slam balls choose to hold victims in higher standards. 36 states plus the military, go to hell, loser. Okay. 36 states plus the military. Yeah, as I already mentioned, yes. And he just kept on going on and on about these 36 states. Even if Texas is one of them. I keep on telling the dumb motherfucker, hey, Vic isn't on trial. He's not being investigated by the police. And if he was, they didn't find anything that was needed to actually go further with it. He's actually suing 4 entities currently. He's probably going to be suing more. So he's not going to jail. unless if something changes where police arrest him and charge him with sexual assault and pedophilia and everything else that people are actually saying that he's done. Okay, so here, I again put down Vic is not on trial here. Read the facts. He is suing them. Where is his police record? When was he arrested for sexual assault? All right, it didn't happen. So again, I'm laying this shit out for him, and then he responds, dude, he apologized. He said he would learn from his mistakes. You morons are pretending he didn't admit to himself. You retarded, woman-hating, tardo, fuck Dragon Ball fans, you fucking losers. Yes, we are aware of the apology where he essentially said, I am sorry for those who I have offended. He didn't even need to apologize, but he did. He was trying to salvage what he could. He didn't want to sue anybody. So yes, I'm sorry for those I may have offended. Yeah, real damning evidence, Columbo. Hugging fans and a kiss on the cheek is far from sexual assault. Eating a jelly bean with Monica Rial's name on it and then saying, I ate Monica Rial is far from assault. If this is what you got, how embarrassing. I know it's a Nick Rekieta thing. This is why there was a lawsuit. Add more to that. Yes, you were among many who make Kick Vic look bad, along with morons like Renfamous and Mars Girl. You obviously have no idea what a sexual predator is. Just be glad you're trying to argue with me and not with someone like Nick Rekieta, an actual lawyer. Keep embarrassing yourself. And then he responds to me, yes, superb job dancing around the damning statements in the apology. I love these damning statements. I have identified areas which I need growth, and I am taking this time to commit to God and seek the help of a counselor. He is literally saying that he recognizes that he needs counseling. Well, gee, needs counseling with what? You're reading into shit. That's all I'm saying. You're reading into shit. Counseling to stop offending people. I don't think so, you retarded molester defender. Molester defender! So now you're saying he molested Vic Mignogna. Wait, no. I said that wrong. So now you're saying that Vic Mignogna molested all these people. He molested probably Monica, all these fans, allegedly. You know, there's hundreds of names. Hundreds. He's just a serial predator that needs stopped and put away at all costs. Yes, of course. Because you have all the answers, you retarded monkey. Yes. Yes, exactly. Yes. Yes, you're right. I mean, with evidence like this, where he said, I need counseling. Dude, the guy was depressed. I know some people were worried that he was suicidal. You know, I watched the video ages ago. It's been months now. Where he mentioned, you know, hey, when you go and hug some people, you know, some people don't want to be hugged. And he would do this. He would just hug people on command, you know. But a lot of voice actors do as well. He's not the only one. And if you have ever been to an anime convention, everyone is hyper as all hell. They're running around, approaching strangers they don't even know. And yeah, they're hugging people, they're kissing people. Not saying everyone's this crazy war zone, but everyone is extremely hyper, and it's not hard to kind of prepare yourself for that, where you're just kind of doing it back. And honestly, I highly doubt. I mean, it's possible, but I highly doubt that anyone in these conventions, not to mention, keep in mind that his lines are super long and super public. There's people everywhere. And he's allegedly doing this shit in lines. I highly doubt that. So, yeah. And then the Duff man right here pretty much called the McCuck, which I found funny. And then I pretty much replied to that. I can't believe that there was he just would not stop. And I just you know, and then he got, I mean, yeah, he's kind of upset because, you know, what the gibberish man or woman or it thing, it person is doing is just inciting everybody, trying to say, oh, you're a piece of shit. call me later. But yeah, no. And I reiterated because it sounded like he said it wrong. Vic did these things, and yeah, he should be punished. But like I said, I reiterated, he's not being prosecuted for anything at all. No charges are being filed on him. They don't have anything concrete. And you know what? Maybe during this deposition, they'll run into some stuff. But here's the thing. This is the thing that's always bothered me about the Me Too movement in general. You have all these people that are coming out the woodwork years later saying, oh, he did this to me, he did that to me, where it seems like it's most beneficial to them at that point. And it is always important, anyone who does actually rape someone, sexually assault someone, they need to be punished. And the best possible chance to do it where there is no room for doubt is immediately after it happens, you need to go to the police. You need to submit a rape kit. You need to give them the evidence that they can get to convict. That's the best chance to do it. And I know it's going to be hard. I know it's not easy. But it has to be done. That is going to be the best chance for it. And, you doing that, you're preventing other people from getting hit as well. But and it's never going to go away. You're always going to have the scar for the rest of your life. But waiting and just pretending it didn't happen and then later on saying, oh, I'm going to say something now. It casts a lot of doubt on you from everyone else. Not everyone can listen and believe. Okay, continue on. So yeah, he fucking dumb shit right here responds again. Just because charges weren't filed doesn't mean it didn't occur. You retarded losers. Yes, of course. But still. That's the whole listen and believe mentality that I'm saying you can't always believe. I mean, dude, I could say you're a rapist. Hey, I said it, right? If I'm saying you're a rapist, shouldn't I, shouldn't that mean something? By your account, that should be. But, so why don't you ask your mom what she thinks of your stupid ass putting all the onus on victims? You retards probably think that kids raped by Catholic priests are a bunch of liars. Fucking creepy shitheads. Oh my god. Oh my god. Really? Bringing up the Catholic priests. There actually is a Hollywood problem involving kids being sexually abused and sexually molested. It's been documented by people like Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, and you bring up the whole Catholic. I mean, it would make more sense if you actually mentioned the whole thing with Hollywood. But yeah, Catholic priests, a bunch of yeah, I didn't even talk about the whole things with the choir boys or the altar boys. It has happened. It's been a problem, but we're not talking about that. You're sidestepping. You're fucking sidestepping, and bringing my mom into it, saying, "Oh, what does she think?" You know what? I've talked to her about some of this shit. You know what? She believes innocent and proven guilty still exists. And you should be happy and thankful that it does. Otherwise, anyone can be ruined because someone doesn't like you. And it is being shown today, in this day and age. This year is a prime example of what happens when people don't like you and they rally together. They make your life miserable. They make your life absolutely miserable. They take away your money. They take away your platform to talk, to express yourself, to work. They turn you into a social pariah. And we're just supposed to believe everything? We're supposed to just listen and believe? Like due process doesn't work in this world anymore? Really? I'm sorry. I don't believe that. I don't believe that that is what we should do. Fucking moron. And this other person right here actually responded, nope, if you're a victim of sexual harassment, you need to take it to court, not to Twitter. Good. Perfect. That is a very perfect statement. I loved every word of this. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty. And no, pictures of him hugging, smiling with fans, and videos of him tapping someone on the arm for a few seconds is not evidence of assault. Absolutely true. So yes, fucking genius McGenius here responds to this person. Well, actually, I did research and you did not. 36 states plus the military will convict on testimony alone. You can deny this all you want, but you are retarded and a sycophant. He just does not know when to quit. I mean, wow. By the way, before I continue on, I must have missed a little bit of this right here. Wait, no, right here. There we go. But yeah, I'm sure it's very hard being this mentally challenged, and I'm sorry that this is so hard for you to understand. The life of an NPC must be difficult for you. As for your little hashtag, fuck Dragon Ball fans, whatever. I know Vic Mignogna more for Full Metal Alchemist than Dragon Ball, but I'm sure that doesn't matter. You go ahead and spout all the nonsense you're going to while I get some popcorn. And popcorn I did make, but my popcorn went stale waiting for this jackass to respond, and it took almost a whole day to come back. So, he mentioned the 36 states again, plus military court, blah, 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 blah. And I just couldn't take it anymore. Could not take it anymore. I decided to write one final thing, and he has not responded since. So either he's a fucking pussy who decided I'm just gonna stop, or he found someone else to bug the shit out of. And I'm gonna have to drop this down a little bit. It's not gonna let me drop it down right now. I have to switch back. But let me drop this down a little bit so I can show you. I hate doing this. I had it perfectly ready for the YouTube videos, but okay. Here's the last bit. It's very fitting, I think, because he just wouldn't stop about this stupid 36 states bullshit. So I finally responded. Let's put this little thing you're clinging onto to bed once and for all. Eyewitness testimony can result in a jury conviction. Can, not always will. Depends on if the testimony is strong enough and believable enough, and if that testimony is a lie and is proven to be a lie, that is under penalty of perjury. And you're still forgetting the most important thing, you stupid moron. Vic Mignogna is not charged with anything. If all these claims were actually valid, and he is as vile as you're claiming, the police would have investigated it, then charged him. So, why did they not? You apparently know all about this, so you can tell us. With all his fucking research. So, that little bit just really was the last little bit I was entertained by for the last, day or so after I posted this video. I was surprised it went that far. The other two comments that I missed were these right here. I don't know if he actually harassed anyone, but I do know that everyone deserves a fair trial. But this was not a fair trial, it was a social media lynching. If you are a victim of sexual harassment, you need to take it to court and not to Twitter. But you see, there's so many lawyers in the legal law firm of Twit and though. So, and then the Duff Man posted, my theory goes is this. People were getting hyped about Dragon Ball Super Broly, and with good reason, but some of the voice actors possibly felt like Dragon Ball was their thing and not Vic's. And when the movie dropped, people fell in love with Broly, especially with his prisoner without walls kind of deal with Paragus. Coining a certain coining a certain gif that went around shortly after it was released. Oh my god, he's so goddamn emotionally empathetic. You feel for him. And that pushed Broly's popularity way above the likes of Goku and Vegeta. And not even a week after it dropped, these accusations came about. That's really convenient, isn't it? Who benefit better from smearing Vic and in turn the character he portrayed than his co-voice actors? I mean, if any of these accusations were true, why wait until the big budget movie? Well, see, they actually did. They tried to get rid of him before they were dubbing it, and they failed. The internal investigation that Funimation or Sony did was found inconclusive. So they just went ahead and they cast him anyway. So they did try, but they failed. But they did it again after the movie came out and did a lot of money. So, being the third highest grossing anime film in the US, only beaten by Pokemon. Why wait till the fans were talking about it and loving it? Well, of course, to get it on everyone's attention because he was the voice actor for Broly. It got the most exposure that way. So when people are looking up Dragon Ball Super Broly, immediately they're going to also notice in news the voice actor for Broly is getting blacklisted from the industry. That's the biggest reason. Well, what better time to destroy a man than where the viewpoint is going to be at the highest peak? So it was genius for them to pick this time. But he also mentions, hell, there's some talk, I think, from Yellow Flash, that Sean Schemmel might be the next to be targeted because of accusations of misconduct with minors. But that's not a big deal or something right now. Well, we'll see. There is a list. I wish I could find where that list is. I wish it was leaked. If it has been, I'd like to see it. I want to see who all they're going after because, I've been a huge fan of anime for a long time. I have a shit ton, okay? And this is why I'm pushing that whole buy anime use thing, okay? When you are buying brand new box sets, movies, merchandise, and you're supporting the localization company, Funimation, and they turn around and they get into their own little political agenda, and all this is unfounded, and this is why they're also being sued. You get into this instance where it really smears you, and they've also fucked over the fans multiple times. They're like shortly after all this bad stuff has hit, there's been instances where the Funimation app wouldn't let people cancel their subscription. That's a little bit odd, don't you think? And not to mention the voice actors hate the fans to begin with. A lot of them do. And it's really sad to see that. I can't tell you how saddened I was that I saw that Monica Rial essentially hates someone like me. I actually have her autograph. I showed that in a previous video. I have her autograph on my imperfect collection of the Excel Saga. One of the stuff I actually liked her in. I liked her as Hyatt. I mean, it's funny how offensive that show was. And it was quite offensive. But it was surprising how offensive that show was And she's offended by all this shit. You know, I mean, I guess, yeah, you know, I don't want to, you know, I shouldn't deserve to have bad stuff happen to you and all that. I get that. Trust me, I do. But, you know, I don't like when stuff that I've grown up with and have liked throughout the years gets, you know, completely shat on. It's not fair. It's not fair to anyone who's a fan of this. And, like, you know, it's happening with video games. It destroyed comics. And this is why I always bitch this shit out. I call it out every time I see it, because if people do nothing, you're going to wake up one day and you're not going to have anything good anymore that's actually coming out. Everything that was good is either already out, and that's it. That's all you got. And that's not right. That's not right at all. I don't agree with that. And hopefully it affects these companies where it matters most to them, and that's their wallet. That's the only real way to reach these people. So when they don't hold their voice actors accountable, and they let them do this shit time and time and time again, we have to send a message somehow. And I'm not for pirating stuff. I mean, yeah, I've watched anime for free before. I think everyone has. But if it's something that I like and I want to support, and I actually want to own it and be able to watch it without any repercussions, you know, fucking buy it used. It's cheaper. There's a lot of good stuff that's long out of print. And you're supporting the person who made the mistake of buying it new. And maybe they'll start realizing, maybe we fucked up, because, you know, I used to buy anime new all the time. You know, I have some of Attack on Titan, Tokyo Ghoul, Death Parade, Future Diary, all this stuff I bought new. I bought the re-release of Akira that has both the Streamline and the Pioneer dub. You know, I bought all that new, and that was all Funimation. You know, and how can I protest about this? That's the best way to do it. Just buy it used. They don't see that money. They won't see that money. And maybe after a while, when they see that their revenue has tanked, and on top of that they're getting sued, maybe they'll see, maybe we fucked up. Maybe we should have put these voice actors in their place before they caused more damage. I mean, they have a legal team. You know, you'd think that they would say, hey, maybe you shouldn't say this shit because it's going to make us look bad. But they haven't said anything. I mean, at this point, they might as well like and retweet every nasty thing that Jamie Markey, Monica Rial, Ron Toye isn't even a part of them. But you know what? They might as well say he is. They haven't denied it. You know? All the shit that happened, you know, with what Amanda Winley said, Sean Schimmel. You know, they said a lot of awful shit publicly. Awful shit. You know? Jamie saying, I won his head and I won his balls. And I want him to cry and make him feel all the pain that he possibly had everyone else feel. When all this isn't even substantiated. You're smearing the man. And on top of it, you know, Funimation isn't doing a goddamn thing to correct this. So they're just as guilty. And this is why they're being sued too. You know? When you go on and talk about all of this, you, in a way, you are representing your company. This is one of the reasons why I don't really talk about, where I work and what I do at work. But like even then, it's all about trying to present yourself. You don't ruin a fucking man's life. And that's exactly what they've done. And well, I'm hoping that the audio did okay. I'm kind of worried about it. I might try it again next and actually get myself another headset. But I had this little thing right here. It's this little thing. It's cheap. It's old, but with it being a desktop and my old my Beats headphones being gone, unfortunately, I wanted to try to get something that would work. So I'm hoping that it worked. If not, I don't know. But anyway, that's just a little test. I was live for looks like about an hour or so. So hope that was entertaining for the one or two people that may or may not have watched it. So you take it easy, and hope I will see you all another time. Until then,